Have you seen any of that kind of footage before? Yeah. And how does it make you feel when you see it?
Makes me want to change the way we are consuming meat.
How does it want to make you change it exactly?
Maybe not buying it
Yeah.
at first.
Yeah. What power do you think we have to change that? By going vegan?
Switching the way we buy food, like not buying from the big retailer or go for local or organic.
But see, I just said we're showing local.
Okay.
We're showing organic, free range, grass-fed, cage-free. You know, all those labels, by the way, they're designed to make the consumer feel better, not the animals. Because you know the animals, they get tortured to death regardless, even on a small farm. So at the end of the day, they're still being turned into a product. How do we justify turning sentient beings, animals who feel pain, who suffer just like we suffer, into products? Can we justify that?
I mean, there's a simple way to kill the cow. For example, if you have a gun,
Yeah.
then it's a headshot,
Yes.
and then the animal is not suffering anymore.
Yeah, okay.
And there are many farmers in Germany especially that
Okay.
do that like that.
Yep.
So there's no suffer.
Yeah.
I mean, and they don't like to exclude the meat out of their, like, food-wise, so they still eat,
So they eat the whole animal, they make full use of the animal.
of course.
Okay, now let me rephrase this in another context, okay, for you. Let me replace this injustice with another injustice. So let's say we're talking about racism, for example, okay? So if I was to say to you, don't worry, when I harm black people, I do it really quickly. I make sure they don't feel any pain. I give them a sleeping drug and then I rape them when they're sleeping. You would obviously,
Different.
why would it be different?
Because we're talking about humans, and that's different.
But isn't the
Than
question,
animals, and when we talk about
what's the
living
difference
organs,
between an animal and a human? Because we're animals, aren't we?
Yes, like biologically, but we as a society would define different. We as a species eat other species.
But biologically, they suffer like we do, don't they?
Yes, true.
So isn't that all that matters?
Matters.
Isn't
That's
that
why we-
all that matters?
Of course.
What else matters?
Everything matters.
What else matters other than that? Does anything else matter other than the fact that they suffer?
I get your point.
Yeah. So what I was trying to say about the comparison that I was trying to make, it might seem a bit extreme, but the reason I'm making that comparison is that the victim at the other end of this choice has to suffer, and there's a consequence with that choice. So with this, we can say maybe it's the way that the animals are killed, but there's no right way to do the wrong thing, is there? We have to establish whether this is evil, what we're doing to the animals, and then we can't have it both ways. It's either evil or it's not.
I have a question.
Sure.
I don't know if it's really true, but because I saw it on internet, but does it feel any pain when we are eating them?
There was some scientific studies that showed that they have response systems to different stimulations. Plants are intelligent. That is the scientific fact. They are very intelligent. Obviously, they've evolved over thousands upon thousands of years. Very intelligent, but what they haven't proven scientifically is that they are sentient. And that's the difference. Intelligence is one thing, but sentience is another thing. Sentience means you have the ability to experience reality. So you have a brain and a central nervous system, and plants don't have either of those things. But even if someone was to consider us to be killing a sentient being when we eat plants, even if someone was to convince me that plants have feelings, then when you go vegan, you actually consume the least amount of plants, so it still makes more sense to be vegan. Because if you are concerned with the lives of plants and the suffering that they may endure, then being vegan kills the least amount of plants, so it would make the best argument for being vegan as well. Because we eat plants directly. All these animals are fed plants in order to keep them alive and to make them fat before we kill them. So what do you think happens with most of the plants that we crop farm? It gets put aside. Over 50% around the world gets put aside and fed to these animals before we chop them up and eat them. So you actually consume far more plants when you're not vegan than when you would if you're vegan.
How about wild animals?
Wild?
Wild animals. I don't know, like deers. I don't know.
What about them?
What you don't have the relationship with a animal that you're raising, right? So how about we change that? If you kill, for example, a
So
wild
we all
animal-
become hunters.
No, like not all.
What
To supply for everyone with meal.
Yeah. We only
it's
kill-
not possible, right?
Right, so you're suggesting perhaps what we could do is only kill wild
I
animals?
don't suggest to do.
No, sorry, I'm
I
just trying to
want
understand
I
your...
want to ask you, what is your opinion about wild animals, killing of wild animals? Because you don't have the relationship with this animal anymore.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
Well, it's not necessarily about the relationship, it's about whether we have the right to do this to animals at all. Whether it's a wild animal or it's an animal that we've domesticated and bred into existence,
Okay.
the idea is that they don't belong to us, they're not here for us.
Yes. Okay. How about when a lion killing a gazelle?
Yes,
He has the right to kill the gazelle.
I wouldn't say he has the right to do that, but they don't have moral agency and they don't have the level of consciousness that we say that we have. Humans say we're the most intelligent, the most civilized. Well, how come we don't act that way? If we look at lions for our moral guideline, we're not going to get very far because, you know, they kill their own cubs. They kill their own babies if they believe that they're runts and they're not going to live very long. They kill them. We would never do that to our babies, would we? We could never justify it based on a lion's behavior. You know what I'm saying? We would never get up in court and say, but lions do it too, Your Honor. That's why I killed my baby, because I thought the baby wasn't going to live very long.
They're not doing it for like killing gazelle. The lion's not killing the gazelle just for
survival.
They do it for survival.
Right. And what's our reason?
And in the past, we also did that, right? There were like
Yeah, we did it.
nations
Yes.
who are living because they only have one supply.
Yeah,
as the meat, right? And now we as a society develop that high. We can now choose if we want to live like these or live like that, right?
Well, we've had
Our choice.
Exactly. We've
But
got
in
a
the
choice
past,
now.
We had that choice.
So what are we doing with that choice that we have now?
So we can choose either this way or both ways.
So why aren't we choosing to be vegan?
Because there are people who are not going for the one way or other way, because they'll just use the easiest way.
So you think it's easier to not be vegan?
It's easier to not think what you're doing.
Oh, right, I understand. That's a good point. Yeah, that's true. It is. Ignorance is bliss, as they say.
Yes.
But do you agree with that statement?
I don't know.
Do you agree that by looking away from this, that's the answer?
No, it's never an answer.
Okay, so what do you think the answer is? For you three as individuals, what do you
Always
think
take
you can do?
responsibility for your choices.
What do you think you can take responsibility for?
For your life, for others' lives.
Yeah? So what do you think you can take responsibility for? Whose life can you take responsibility
For
for?
this lives.
Okay.
Okay?
And what can you three do today?
Today,
What do you think you can do today?
what we can do.
I'm already lost.
You already lost? All right, so let's just bring this back full circle, shall we? Do we think that what we do to animals is evil?
From a moral perspective, it's evil.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yes.
A moral perspective.
Yes.
You? Do you think what we do to animals for a hamburger is evil? Yes or no? You would say that? Okay, and what would you say? You would say, okay. Now we've established that our relationship with animals is evil. What we do to them is evil, right? For a trivial reason such as a sandwich. Now, what can we do about it as individuals? You've established it as evil. Now, what are you going to do about this evil? So how about I make a suggestion, because I've asked this question a few times now. How about I suggest that you can go vegan, which is the least that you can do for the animals. That way you no longer contribute to this. You no longer support this. And you no longer have the blood of these innocent animals on your hands. You can walk away from supporting this for the rest of your life today. And the next thing that I would suggest you do is to speak up for these innocent beings. To say something about this. With your friends, your family, those who are around you, speak up, because injustice will never end. When you see others being bullied, you have to speak up for those who are being bullied. And animals are being bullied by humans. They're weaker than us, we have more power. We practice that power on them for bad instead of good, but now we can practice that power for good when we stop harming them and start speaking up. Does that make sense? So do you think you could all do that today by going vegan?
We could do it, yes.
would there be anything stopping you?
No.
Okay, that's easy. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you guys listening, being open-minded. One thing you realize when you go vegan is that you're actually not changing anything about who you are. That's important to remember, because you all say you're against animal cruelty, right? So when you go vegan, you're only aligning your actions with the set of values that you say you have. And so it's an easy transition, really, when you look at it that way. And as long as you put the victims first and you think of the suffering they endure, if you think of that, it makes the decision easy, no matter what you need to do in order to be vegan. So just remember that.
Okay.
All right, much love and thank you for your time. Take care. See you.